What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode number 97 of Lyon Live here in Football Manager 2019. Today, we're back, and it's a special occasion, something different for you guys today. It is a Q&A special, unofficially, I guess, my 80,000 subscriber special video of sorts. YouTubers tend to do these things. I didn't have anything planned. I will apologise for that. But, of course, in Lyon Live here, we have the Winter World Cup. So as a result, as we continue forward for the next 2 months, I thought it'd be a nice opportunity this episode to just answer questions that you guys have and take questions that you guys put in the last episode and answer them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Of course, if stuff happens off the pitch or if interesting stuff pops up, we'll comment on it, we'll have a look at it. But yeah, I felt like it'd be nice to do something a little bit different. Rather than just holiday forward 2 months and you guys, not really see what's going on, we'll keep the Lyon Live format going, but instead we'll just use it as an opportunity to answer some questions. So I guess we'll just quickly look here at the World Cup. You can see various players being called up for World Cup squads, which is nice to see. 11 players in total, not as many as I was perhaps expecting. There could be a few more, I guess, you get added at a later date. I'm surprised that none of our players are in the France squad. I'm not going to lie. Did they all get dropped? I mean, it seems harsh, but it looks like all of our players got dropped, which might not be the worst thing in the world for us in terms of squad fitness. But it is a little bit of a shame when the likes of Gabels, Guillet, Barrow and co don't make it in. I'm a little bit sad. Maybe things will change. Maybe there's been a paperwork mix-up. I don't know. But yeah, we'll keep an eye, of course, on our own players. We've got them all being scouted and match reports being compiled. So yeah, we'll see how they get on, won't we, as we go on into today's episode. But anyway, let's answer some questions, shall we? And the first one that I got asked was by Extreme. This had quite a lot of thumbs up, 26 of them. So this is clearly something that people want to know. My next save is, well, I don't have another save plan for FM19. I plan to play this until FM20 comes out. In terms of my plans with Lyon Live, I would like to get at least 2 more seasons done. Ideally, I would like to be done by the start of October. Football Manager traditionally comes out midway through October, early November. We still don't have any news on FM20. I think that will come in the next week or so. And I would quite like just to have 2 or 3 weeks before the game comes out where I'm not doing any videos. Maybe a few top 5s in anticipation, but really just, a cooling off period, a kind of a chill out period, just because otherwise, I feel like you run into the risk of burnout. But in terms of my first save for FM20, the plan is to do Liverpool live. And I don't know if this would be multi-seasons or a single season, but I really do like the idea of doing a save with Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, an incredibly popular team in Football Manager. I think it would also double up as a bit of a tutorial series, perhaps for new players, where we talk about all the little setup details and how I do specific things with a new Football Manager come out. Lots of new players, people wanting to know how to play the game. I feel like it could serve that purpose quite nicely. Beyond that, I would like to do a lower league save at some point next year. A few years ago, you might remember FM15, we did the Lewis FC save. And it was titled Tracksuit to the Top. And the reason it was titled that was because originally the plan was that we would have a save where we started in the depths of non-league English football and then tried to, become basically a manager in the Hall of Fame from nothing. But I ended up getting too attached to the team and not leaving. But I quite like the idea of a journeyman of sorts that probably starts in the lower leagues of England, but might then turn into a Pentagon down the line. And I wouldn't ever, call it the Pentagon, challenge ahead of schedule, but really it would be mostly based, I think, in Europe, bit of a journeyman. I think we'd start in the lower leagues of England and kind of take things from there. It would be probably not live, just because Lyon Live, for example, it's taken us about 6 months, and we are currently in season number 5. Realistically, with this kind of format of series, it just takes a long time to get into the future for longer term saves. That's not entirely viable. But I know a lot of you guys absolutely love the lower league save. So at least at the moment, that's what I'm thinking for next year. Kind of a lower league up the footballing pyramid of England, maybe throughout Europe, maybe onto a Pentagon Challenge. And if you're not familiar with the Pentagon Challenge, it essentially involves winning the Champions Leagues of the 5 major continents: Asia, obviously Africa, South America, North America, and Europe. I feel like that would be a fun save to do. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, but I feel like starting small with kind of smaller ambitions in terms of we're going to go on a little adventure through England and then potentially into Europe and then potentially beyond. it would probably make for quite a fun series. Let me know what you think of that. That's what I'm thinking right now. Of course, I will preface this all by saying Football Manager 2020 isn't out for, well, a long time, over 2 months until I have to think about my long-term save, really. But that's where my head's at right now. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Anyway, the next question I have is from Theodami, who asked, how do you know Dr. Benji FM? Are you going to have a giveaway for FM20? Sports Interactive usually give me a couple of copies of Football Managers to give away, so there probably will be some giveaways. If they are going to happen, they'll probably be more than likely on my Twitter, which is at WorkTheSpace. If you don't have Twitter, make a Twitter account. It's a good way to stay on top of things. So I probably will be giving away copies of FM20. Of course, this is dependent on if I get any from Sports Interactive. If I don't, for whatever reason, which seems unlikely, I will probably buy a couple of copies to give away to you guys watching. And in terms of how I know Dr. Benji FM, so me and Ben, I've known Ben a very long time. For those of you who don't know who Dr. Benji is, he's another Football Manager YouTuber. I feel like 99.9% of you know who he is. But yeah, I knew Ben before he did any kind of YouTube videos. When I first started my channel, he kind of messaged me. And this is a bit of a bizarre story, but he messaged me basically saying, hey, if I name these 3 places, Boston, Norwich and Liverpool, do they mean anything to you? And I was like, yes. And it turned out that we were born in the same hospital. We both have family from a similar area, and we both supported Liverpool. It was a bit of a weird kind of coincidence, I guess. I don't know how he found this information. It's a little bit stalkery, but for whatever reason I was reciprocative of it and receptive of it. We ended up talking, we started playing games together. During the summer of FM14 I was streaming a lot, and Ben would occasionally just join me in like Skype calls, and we just kind of talk about football and stuff. And he got kind of affectionately known as the guy in the call, and I kind of told Ben, I was like, Ben, you really should start streaming or doing videos and stuff. And then Ben started doing streaming and videos and stuff. That's how I remember it. Ben will tell you a different story, I have no doubt. It was 5 or 6 years ago now, but like we get on so well. We bounce off each other, obviously, extremely well. Those of you who have seen mine and Ben's streams, the podcast that we used to do together and stuff. But yeah, that's how I know Ben. It has nothing. I don't know Dr. Benji FM. I know Ben because I mean, yeah, I knew him before he had his title. But yeah, that's how we know each other. Obviously, we've kind of been good friends. We've met up a few times in real life, been to Liverpool games together. We have a really good friendship, and out of every kind of person who I've connected with, I guess, through doing YouTube and streaming and stuff, Ben is definitely, the person who I have a lot of thanks to give towards, because he motivates me a lot. He gives me a lot of ideas, pushes me to do better content. And I have a hell of a lot of respect for him and everything that he's done for the community since he started doing stuff. Anyway, the next question I have is from Dennis Melo Batista. What a name that is, I love it. He asked, hi Jack, question, have you done a save in Portugal, or have you intentions to do it? Hugs from Portugal. Portugal is a really interesting country to me because, I mean, as we know with Lyon Live, I like Portuguese players. I sign a lot of them. Shadas to pop up on our screen perfectly. But in terms of managing in Portugal, I've not thought about it that much. I'm sure there's an appeal to it, and I know there's a lot of you guys from Portugal who watch, but I don't have a massive connection to Portugal myself. I don't know. There's no reason why I haven't managed in Portugal. It's the kind of country where I think, as if I was to do a bit of a road trip around Europe after, ascending through the English pyramid, I'd quite like to end up there. But in terms of if I have intentions right now, I don't. I know someone else asked, would I ever do a Benfica save? For me personally, I kind of like to manage slightly smaller teams traditionally. I know that sounds ironic when we're managing Lyon here, and obviously we've been managing Liverpool before, but for me personally, I do enjoy like the lower league challenges and building up smaller teams. And normally in Football Manager, it's been a bit of a weird year for FM really. I've kind of done things differently. So I don't know if I'd ever manage Benfica, but I can understand the appeal of managing in Portugal, and I might well, end up there at some kind of unplanned date. But right now, I'm not sure. I really like Portugal as a country, though. Random going on a tangent here, but I went to the Algarve, a number of years, like during summer holidays and stuff as a kid growing up. I got to see a few games at the Faro football stadium and stuff, and the country is just really, really nice. Like the people in Portugal, absolutely lovely. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a save there in the future. Does Faro have a team that plays in their stadium? I know it was built for the Euros years ago. I feel like they don't have a club who plays there. Maybe we do a creator club save. I don't know. Answers on a postcard. Anyway, next question. Let's move on. Someone asked, Don Bobo. I've got lost in the comments here. Great name, Don. Do you plan on holidaying 10 to 15 years in the future on this save? If you do create if you do create a short list of players who were at Lyon during your time, I would like to do that. I think that would be fun. As I said, I don't know how many seasons realistically we've got left of this save game, just because, well, the way things are working out mean that FM20 is coming up. But I think it would be really fun to holiday into the future. I need to do that with the FC Edmonton save as well. If you're someone who enjoyed that save game, I do want to still holiday into the future. I know it's a bit after the fact now. And also, I have the save game that I need to distribute to people. If there is still a demand for that, please do let me know. I will add it to the description of this video. If I don't remember, please remind me. Freitas has picked up an injury for 5 to 6. I mean, at least it's during a long break. I noticed that Gabels has been getting injured as well. But yes, if you're still interested in that save game, please do let me know. So actually, I'm surprised how few of our players are on international duty here. It looks like none of our players got called up for the France squad, which to me seems absolutely mad. But I guess that's just how the cookie crumbles. I'm not going to complain too much. In some ways, it benefits us, but that's a little bit odd, isn't it? I don't know. Has the World Cup started yet? I saw that we were getting some reports, but I just assumed that they weren't to do with the World Cup. I'm going to search the World Cup and then copy it to my clipboard. Okay, the World Cup, what day does it start? It starts in 3 days. So we'll start paying a little bit of attention to that in the background. But yes, I do plan on holidaying into the future with this save game. And yeah, we will definitely do something of that nature. Because I think it'd be fun to see how some of the players I've passed up on and some of the players we've got, end up doing in the future. Harris has asked, in FM20, are you going to manage Burnley to make up for taking us down? Probably not. I feel like I've got an irrational resentment to Burnley Football Club because of that save. Burnley didn't do anything wrong to it, and I quite like Sean Dyche as a manager, but I'm like Will Mackenzie in The In-Betweeners. If you've watched that show, I realise this is a very niche reference, but obviously he doesn't like Burnley. I don't like Burnley either because of it. But I might end up managing them. That's the kind of thing that I can imagine with a month left of FM20. I'd be like, right, we're going back. We're going to try and make amends. But right here and now, I can't say that I have any plans to return to Burnley. Anyway, next question we have is from John O'Badge, who asks, do you think Liverpool have a chance at challenging for the league due to their lack of transfers? I'm a Liverpool fan. I should start by saying that for people who don't know. Do I think Liverpool have a chance at challenging for the title? I do think they do, but I think you need to get very, very lucky. Obviously, Man City were incredible last year. They now have De Bruyne back. That if anything, they've got better over the summer. Liverpool had a fantastic season, but I really don't know, even speaking as a Liverpool fan, if it's sustainable. We lost 1 game last season in the league, which is crazy. I don't feel like enough spoken about that, really. The season by both Man City and Liverpool was just nuts. I do feel like for Liverpool, that is as good as we can perform. We got very lucky with injuries. Some of our best players were playing particularly well. I feel like if Liverpool want to challenge for the title, it's going to come at City struggling. And I feel like this year, unless City have the worst injury crisis in the world and Liverpool can stay injury-free, they're going to run away with the league this year, I'm afraid to say. I feel like genuinely, Liverpool's best chance at challenging for the title is maybe in a year, 18 months, 2 years, Pep Guardiola gets a bit bored, moves on. That transitional period there, that is perhaps, for teams like Liverpool, Manchester United and Arsenal, their best possible chance to strike in a weird way to win the league. It's hard to see right now how Man City don't win the league this year, and I know they've slipped up against Spurs in the second game week of the Premier League season, but genuinely, their squad is just absolutely nuts. Jono also asked, do I think Chelsea will make top 4 this year? Now, I made some Premier League predictions for a video that I never made. I made some predictions, shall we say. I did the Premier League table, I did the top goal scorer and stuff. I didn't have Chelsea in my top 4. In fact, I had Chelsea down in 9th. And I had this done before the season was started. I'm very, very worried for Chelsea this year. Genuinely. I mean, cue them now to smash Norwich at the weekend. But right here, right now, 2 games in, I am worried for them, and I'm not worried about them, being entirely reactionary off the back of their 2 games they played so far. Because let's be honest, going to Old Trafford, it's probably as tough as it's going to get. Besides going to the Etihad and Anfield, I guess. But I look at that Chelsea team and I just worry for them, I guess. I think there's a lot of, newer players like Pulisic coming in who are going to have to fill the void that Hazard's left. Can they do it? I think that's a challenge. I feel like they don't have necessarily a particularly standout striking option. I know they've got Giroud, who's very consistent. Besides that, Tammy Abraham, and Batshuayi, if he's given opportunities to play. It's kind of... I don't know. I feel like for Chelsea, there's just they're such an unknown quantity. But for me, I could just see them struggling this year, unfortunately. I quite like Chelsea as well, but I feel like Chelsea fans are truly going to appreciate how good Sarri was come the end of the year to get 3rd in the league last season. I mean, that's a question for you guys in the chat. Where do you think Chelsea will finish this year? I'm now very curious to know what other people think. So next question I had, and this is one that I've had from a few different people, is from Pietro Bonacina, I hope I've said that correctly, who asked, what do I expect from FM20 and what do I want in it? So I always think about this, and for me usually it's the little features that I didn't know I wanted that I enjoy the most in Football Manager. I challenge you to go back to an older Football Manager, play it, and then kind of try and stick with it, because for me personally, I really struggle with it. Whenever I look at a new Football Manager is rarely reinventing the wheel, but there's so many great little improvements that even going back 2 years, I find the game really difficult to play because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff that got added that I didn't know I needed or wanted. And I don't even recognise it as stuff that I can't live without. But here I am playing FM, 17, and I'm struggling because there's stuff that I like that's missing. I would like to see further improvements to training. I feel like individual training focus for goalkeepers would be good. I would love some kind of ability to snapshot players so that, for example, I could take Gabels and I could go to, say, comparison snapshot player. And then in the player comparison tab, I could compare him against his past self. So I could maybe have his polygon and his attributes this year against what they were before and see how much he's improved. And I feel like having some kind of feature where year on year you can snapshot your entire squad. In fact, maybe you do it where at the end of every season the game automatically stores basically a snapshot of every single player. And I don't mean a literal photo. I mean like a little database entry of how their attributes were, how their stats were at that specific year. And then you can compare it year on year, because it would be very interesting, for example, now to compare how good Vargas is against how good Depay was in my first season. I would love to see how much that position has improved and how much of an upgrade Vargas has been over 4 years on Depay, who started as our left winger. And I feel like anything you can do like that, to add a little bit more kind of detail and flavour would be amazing. I feel like Football Manager Mobile already has the ability to kind of snapshot players to compare, but I feel like some kind of system where you could automatically at the end of every year get a copy of every player in your squad that you can then compare them to would be really interesting, particularly for kind of comparing them kind of year on year on year. I feel like that would be a really good feature. I feel like other stuff I'd like, the obvious one is I would like better graphics in the 3D match engine. I do feel like the 3D match engines come on leaps and bounds, and you have to kind of consider that the game has to run on minimum spec machines. It has to run on people on laptops, and they can't just cater for people with souped up gaming PCs. I know there's some people who can't play on 3D now, so depending on how good people's PCs are, it's probably not worth the investment if only 20% of people are going to be able to run the match engine on even higher graphic settings than they do now. Regen faces is always one that comes up. I would love better regen faces. I know that's a really easy thing to say. They are really difficult though, regen faces. I feel like people don't realise this, but regen faces, like, you think of how many players are in a Football Manager database, okay? Whenever there's a youth intake in a new set of players, your PC has to generate all players for all of those kind of, countries that have intakes all at once. So, for example, if we go to transfers here and youth intake and just look at November, for example. So there's all these Argentinian players in this long list, which would all happen on the same regen day. So if I just highlight these, how many are there? 85 players need to have faces generated from nothing at the same time when you hit continue without you noticing the game slow down. And now imagine this with hundreds, if not thousands of players every season, and they snowball and add on and on and on. Regen faces actually are surprisingly intensive. The most intensive thing for Football Manager to do is search for players, because you're searching through hundreds of thousands of players. If I, you can see here how it's lagging as it tries to load up all the players. It's just loading 16,000, 34,000. Is it going to load any more? I think that's just 34,000 players under the age of 21. If I untick this, so it's just all players in the world, you can see on my PC, which is a beefy PC, is struggling like hell. There's 81,000 players there who are interested in transfer. If I untick that, is that going to increase it more? So yeah, 86,000 players is roughly how many are in my game that I can see scouted. I think that's probably all of them. But imagine we're 10 years into a save, or even 5 years into a save. A large portion of these are regen faces that the game has had to generate. And if you're Football Manager is a game that lots of people who just have really old laptops play the game because, it's not super... the lag doesn't matter so much. If the game takes a while to load, it's not the end of the world because it's like a turn-based game, essentially. But at the same time, you could go, better regen faces, please. They add in better regen faces. There's going to be people on low-end machines and even potentially on higher-end machines who, the regen face generating process would just nail their PC. It would kill it. In the same way that, you probably get this on deadline day. You hit continue, the game crawls to a stop. You think, oh my gosh, has it crashed? That's kind of the issue with Football Manager and regen faces. That said, I would love better regen faces, but I know there's technical reasons why they can't just make them better, and snap their fingers. Long term, I would love it if somehow the 3D generated regen faces were represented in the match engine. I think that would be really, really cool, but I think that's probably years off. And I guess the other obvious thing would just be improvements to multiplayer. And I don't even know what that would be. Would that be improving draft mode more? Would that be going back to kind of nothing and building from the ground up something new for multiplayer? Obviously, there was the Football Manager online game in Korea and then in China, which ceased development a couple of years ago now. There's some technology in that I would love to see make it into, the main game, but I don't know. I feel like if you're going to do multiplayer in a game like Football Manager, you've got to do it really well. Because if you half-arse it or do it on a smaller budget, people just aren't going to buy it for the multiplayer component if they're not interested in the single player. And people who like the single player aren't going to just start playing the multiplayer if it's just not that great. You have to make something that's really, really good and really, really good stand out. And I don't know what that would be. I'm glad in some ways that I'm not a Football Manager game designer because I do think it's really, really difficult to strike a balance. But yeah, I hope that explains some of the things that I would like to see in FM20. A lot of people ask that question. I don't give it a great deal of thought. And I will make things, clear now. I don't know what's in FM20. Occasionally I, catch wind of a few things early. I'm as excited for the reveal in the next couple of weeks, I imagine, as you are. I believe Miles Jacobson said, end of August, start of September, expect FM20 news. We're not far away from that now, so I'm hyped, and hopefully you guys are too. Anyway, the next question I had is from Matthias, who asked, we asked 3 questions, and he asked, what's your day job and do you have a degree/education? So my day job is I work for a video game studio as a cinematic artist, so I do various marketing assets, video game trailers. I used to work for Football Manager as a game tester, which I managed to get a job in through my YouTube channel and through my knowledge of the game. Which is really, really cool. And my degree, well, I have an education. I've done A-levels and GCSEs, which, for those of you outside the UK, is basically I was in school until the age of 18. And then I did go to university and I did a degree in digital design, which I'd like to think contributes somewhat to my semi-nice looking thumbnails. Your next question was, where am I from? I'm from England, Lincolnshire, Boston, to be more precise. I already mentioned where I was born this episode. It's really a getting to know you exercise today. And your last question is, any advice on what to do when losing interest in the game? I've tried to stay away from it for long periods, but I just can't seem to get my mojo back. Burnout in Football Manager is a very real thing, and it's something that YouTubers, I think, struggle with a lot. And it's one of the reasons why, as I said, start of October, end of September, I would like to take a break, not do any Let's Play videos and just, before the game comes out, FM20, just kind of chill out. It's tricky. I mean, if you watch this video here, can you honestly say that you play Football Manager on a weekly basis all year round? Because I feel like 99.9% of Football Manager players take breaks. You know, maybe you don't get into a save game for a while. Maybe you just grow bored of a save for no particular reason. You just stop opening it one day and don't feel like playing it. I feel like it's perfectly normal. And sometimes in the past, I've gone away for 4 or 5 months and had to stop playing to enjoy it. Last year, for example, I stopped doing FM videos in February. I didn't come back until October. And I feel like that long break has really contributed to this year, where on a consistent basis throughout FM19 now, I've been able to do YouTube content. And, you know, I'm not stressing myself out, you know, trying to get an episode done every day if I can't do it. I am kind of just, you know, playing things at my own pace. If I don't want to upload a video a certain day, I'm not forcing myself to play the game. Because I think as soon as you start forcing yourself to do something, you stop enjoying it. It stops being as good. And I feel like it's applicable to all kinds of burnout, but especially like YouTube and playing Football Manager. If you're, you know, wanting to play it, but you're like, I can't really get back into it. I've had a break, but I can't get back into it. Custom databases are a really fun way sometimes to jazz things up. The Mad Scientist did his, 2003, 2004 database. I think that's a really, really good one this year. There's the Aswijan database that was done by Laura, who I believe is now going by Chilled Moose. But I did a video on that. That's another really cool database. I feel like custom databases really add to the longevity of Football Manager, especially if you're kind of getting bored of the default database come the summer. Of course, there is also summer transfer updates where people do all the transfers and all the league updates and stuff for the upcoming football season. I know Sort It Out SI have one, as does Pro, spelled PR0. He does a transfer update. So there's a couple out there. I feel like that's the best way to kind of spice up Football Manager if you're struggling a little bit with it. But yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. Burnout is definitely a tricky thing. I don't feel like there's a magical solution because everyone's brain is wired slightly differently in terms of how to deal with it. Let's have a quick look, shall we, at the World Cup. What is happening right now? We're into the quarterfinals already. Wow, I've gone further forward than I realised. Right, let's have a look at the group stages. Senegal are in it. Interesting. Of course, this is the World Cup. We can see it here. So Senegal and Denmark made it through in a group with Qatar and Serbia. Qatar, did you beat Serbia? You beat Serbia for... That is a bad result for Serbia. Are Qatar's players any good? Some people ask me sometimes, why do you play with a tribute masking off? This is one of the reasons. I want to be able to like flick through here and look at something without, you know, having all the attributes masked. I think Group B went as you'd expect. Group C, USA finishing bottom with only a draw. Who did they draw against? Spain. Wow, that was a really good result for them then. Ghana, unfortunate to finish third. Germany made it out of the groups. That's good news. I mean, lots of the European teams making it out, which is I guess it's kind of to be expected. Germany and Holland making it through. Sorry, China didn't win a game. Italy and France making it through there. I guess France not missing our players too much. Although, who did they lose to? They lost to Italy. Italy lost to South Korea. That's a little bit of a throwback to the 2002 World Cup in South Korea, where I want to say, did Italy lose to South Korea then? I feel like it was a very controversial game at the time. Mexico and Argentina make it through there. Ivory Coast and Colombia. Portugal finishing bottom of the group. That is bad. Although a very, very closely fought group there. You can see Brazil, top of the group, Costa Rica making it through as well. And then in the second knockout round, Senegal knocked out Uruguay, Belgium knocked out Denmark. I guess that top one's a bit of a shock. England beating Holland, Spain beating Germany. Some big teams getting knocked out early here. Italy beating Mexico convincingly. Holders France knocked out on penalties by Argentina. Costa Rica beat the Ivory Coast, and Brazil won after extra time against Colombia. So, mate, I take it all back. France did need our players, after all. The good news is, no injuries to speak of. Because that was my worry, that players would come back from the World Cup with injuries. So that's a bit of a relief there. But, yeah, there's your little World Cup update. Let's go on to some more questions. T-Tac has asked a very vile question that I don't know if I want to answer, but I've said his name now, so I guess I have to read it. Would you rather poop a brick or pee a golf? I guess you mean a golf ball. You've written a golf. I'm guessing you mean a golf ball rather than like a golf car, because not nice. I'll go with the brick. Cats or dogs? I'm more of a dog person. I like cats as well. I'm just an animal person, to be honest. I'm the kind of person who will just, like, if a cat walks up to me and I'm walking home from work, even as a fully grown man, I will go and pet that cat. I will go and like give him a little tummy rub if he wants one. Give him a little stroke under the chin. They'll usually then follow me for a little bit. Also, I saw here that Sunday has been listed as a world-class player. That makes me excited. He does look very blooming good, doesn't he? Anyway, let's get on to some more stuff. People asking, about FM20. I've already talked about it a lot, so sorry if I don't touch upon your exact question. NM does FM asks, what's your biggest goal as a YouTuber? Well, it's a bit funny. I started my YouTube channel to try and get a job in the games industry. I thought, hey, I like doing videos. I'm at university at the moment. I'm not working that many hours a week. I have time to do some videos and stuff. Maybe I'll just do some gaming videos. Maybe it'll lead to a job in the industry or whatever. So that's what I did. And obviously off the back of doing Football Manager videos, I got a job doing QA at Football Manager, which was really, really cool. And then from there, I kind of obviously landed where I am now doing my current job. So that was my goal. That was my goal as a YouTuber when I started. And I tend not to think much beyond that. I guess my biggest goal as a YouTuber would be to be able to do this full time. But Football Manager is very niche. I have a day job which I absolutely enjoy. It's one of those things where I feel like if I put enough hours into the day, if I started treating YouTube like a full-time job, I could make it sustainable as a full-time job. But equally, I don't feel like I need to do that right now. And I don't feel pressured to do it. Like, obviously, I have a Patreon set up. I do run ads on the videos, so there's a form of income there, but it's nowhere near, close to sustaining myself all year round. I would love to take it further. I realised that I never really push my Patreon page. Obviously, a massive, massive thank you to everyone who does support me on Patreon. Genuinely, like, if you are one of those people, like, you are an absolute hero, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm glad that you enjoy the videos. I do feel like I should maybe start pushing it more. Obviously, I launched my Patreon with FM19 coming out. And at the time, I didn't really want to push it too hard because I'd been out of the YouTube game for a long time. As I said, I'd had that long break. And so it felt a bit weird coming back and then being like, hey, here's a Patreon page, do stuff with it. So I kind of just left it there in the back. It was just there. And people have supported it, and I'm very, very appreciative for it, but at the same time I feel like I probably do need to start pushing it a little bit more. My biggest goal as a YouTuber would be to do this full time, but there's so many circumstances that would have to fall into place for it to happen that I just don't envisage in it happening soon. Maybe it would, that would be my biggest goal, but is it my goal right now? I'd like to think I'm slowly working towards it, but at the same time I'm very realistic about it all. So YouTube is something I do for fun. It is a nice additional form of income. If I really wanted more income, like a secondary source, I would just go and get a part-time job. It would probably pay better right now than doing what I do here. But I absolutely love making videos, and it's been such a huge part of my life. I started doing this when I was in my second year of university, 7 years ago almost now. Like, it is a huge part of who I am. And I do just enjoy it immensely. Anthony Lopez is hinting about wanting to leave. Oh, I kind of might need to let him go. Okay, never mind. We talked him out of it. I didn't even need to try to do it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, NM Does FM. Yeah, I do have a Patreon page. It's down below. Feel free to go check it out. Like, I don't plug it that hard. Obviously, those of you who do support me, thank you. Lots of you appear in the credits at the end of videos. And it is really appreciated. And it does help me get one step closer to maybe that ultimate end goal of doing this full time. Lewis has asked, sorry Lewis, I'm scared of ruining your last name, so I'm just going to go with your first name. But you asked, what kind of music do I listen to? I know it's a really boring generic answer. I don't really have a specific genre of music I listen to. I prefer my heavier stuff, to be honest. I'm now going to open my Spotify and I'll just list a few of the bands I've been listening to stuff of lately, because I feel like that's a better way of doing things here. I was listening to The Killers on the way home today, walking home, which I know is horrifically generic. There's a German band I've been listening to recently called Alaska. That's like Alaska but with a Z instead of an S. Super elite, I know. It's quite heavy, but it's got a bit of a melodic nature. What else have I been listening to recently? I've been listening to a lot of... what's it called? I'm trying to think what the genre's called. This is going to annoy me now. The artist is Blank Banshee. It's like a super cerebral, It has a name. Vaporwave. That's, I don't know why it escaped me. Vaporwave. Like, if I want to just chill out, I will just find some random vaporwave and put it on, and I don't know. It just chills me out. I can't go beyond that. But to be honest, I don't really have a specific taste. Like, I listen to lots and lots of genres. I guess more heavy stuff traditionally, a little bit of screaming, although I'm not like the heaviest, I'm not sort of super engaged in that stuff, I guess. But I don't know, I feel like I just have a broad sense of music. I tend to gravitate towards individual songs rather than artists and albums, although there are some albums for me which I just think are incredible. I think someone else asked a question about what my favourite album is. It's Demon Days by Gorillaz. It's such a good album, but there's very few albums where I listen from start to finish and go, I love all of them. That is one of the rare exceptions. But I hope that answers your question. Owen McLaughlin has asked, do you think City have it in them to win the Champions League? I absolutely do. I think anyone who doesn't think City have the capabilities to win the Champions League are wrong. I do feel like as the years go on, the pressure mounts and mounts and mounts. If, as I kind of said, Pep does leave in the next couple of years, I feel like this is probably their year to do it. In a weird way, it's kind of like, if I would love City to win the Champions League if it means they lapse in the league and Liverpool can win the Premier League. I mean, to be fair, I think both fans would probably be happy with that trade-off. I mean, Liverpool fans roast me for that, or City fans roast me for it, but I feel like City fans would be quite happy finishing second in the league and winning the Champions League, whereas as a Liverpool fan, at least for me, having won the Champions League last year, I would much rather try and win the league again. Anyway, you can see here, England scored 3 goals against Italy. Are England going to win a World Cup? Are England going to win a World Cup? This was the semi-final. Do we attend the final? I almost feel like we should. If I go forward to the final. England v Spain. Let's go to it. Let's go watch a World Cup final, shall we, while we answer questions. Tobias has asked, will I ever do an 1816 Munich save? I've considered it. I don't know if I'd go back to Germany next year, just given the fact that we did, obviously, the Bayer Leverkusen save this year, but it is on my radar as a club that I would like to manage at some point in the future, because I do think they have a very, very interesting history. Next question I have is from, I want to say it's Dushika. I hope I've said that right. Dushika Petrovic. I'm going to go with that and commit to it. He asks, favourite player of all time? Steven Gerrard. I'm afraid I have to give that generic answer. Favourite player that's currently playing? Oh, that's a really good question. Favourite player who's currently playing? I want to have refrained from saying Salah or another Liverpool player. Outside of Liverpool. I feel like I have to make it outside of Liverpool. You know what? I'd probably say Messi, and I know that's a really boring thing to say. But I've seen Messi play in person. I've been fortunate enough to see that. And you can just watch him for 90 minutes, and he's so effortless. There's very few players who fit in this bracket of players who never have to sprint. They just read the game so well. They're always in the right place. They make just the right decisions all the time. And I just find Messi, for me, I just enjoy watching. And I know I equally enjoy watching Ronaldo play more, but I feel like, for me personally, I find Messi is, I want to say Messi's more of a showman, but I feel like that's highly debatable, because I feel like Ronaldo has that aura around him. But I think there's almost something humble about Messi. And it's like, I'm trying to think of a way to describe why I feel like Messi, for me, is one of my favourite players. I just feel like everything he does is so effortless. Like, he does those difficult things in football, things that no one else can see, he can just pull off. And genuinely, like, it's mind-boggling. I am so worried for Barcelona when they lose him. And I'm not even like a Barcelona fan. I just want to see, Barcelona or Real Madrid, and maybe Atletico thrown in there as well, really battling it out at the top. In some ways, I feel like Atletico right now, when you look at the squads, are probably the favourite that in a few years' time they can truly challenge at the top in Spain. It's crazy. What are my thoughts on the? Sorry, Dashika also asked a few other questions. So, what are my thoughts on the last World Cup? Really enjoyed the last World Cup. As an England fan, I loved it until the semi-final. But no, genuinely, I think the football was really, really entertaining. I know there was a lot of drama kind of leading up to it, but I feel like Russia, for the most part, were pretty good hosts. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, I really did enjoy the last World Cup. I'm thinking now about Qatar and how much I'm not looking forward to it. I mentioned this last episode. I'm not going to go down this, but Dashika also said, loving the save, going to be sad when it ends. Hopefully my FM20 save can amount to this one. That is the biggest challenge of a YouTuber, is trying to maintain the quality of saves and keep it going and going and going and keep that momentum going. And I feel like it's almost impossible. I know someone asked, and I don't have the person right in front of me now, but I know I read this question, was like, will you ever go back to Gibraltar? For those of you who don't know, a couple of years ago, I did a save in Gibraltar when I took a club from the Gibraltar second division, and we won the Champions League with them. And I should say Gibraltarian. That's what somewhere Gibraltar is from. Gibraltar's been affected by Brexit, unfortunately. Like, there are rule changes because of that will probably happen. Although Brexit in Football Manager is obviously always random, it does impact Gibraltar. To be honest, I don't think I'd ever go back to Gibraltar because I don't think I could ever match it or do it better. Do you know what I mean? Like, why try and... I feel like Gibraltar for me was like capturing lightning in a bottle. I don't think it could happen again. And I'd be scared to try and make it happen again because I feel like if it isn't as good, people just won't enjoy it. I'd always rather try and push new ideas or different takes on the same thing than try and replicate something that, for me personally, I don't think I could ever replicate. Because if I don't believe I can do it, and I'm someone who has a lot of self-belief, sometimes to my detriment, I believe in myself a little bit too much about things. Jack Butland's had a mare in a World Cup final, everyone. We'll enjoy this. But yes, I couldn't go back to Gibraltar, but I hope that Liverpool Live will match up to this. I hope it'll be everything that people enjoyed about this and more. I really enjoy the live format. I feel like doing single season live saves might be an interesting take. Maybe go to Real Madrid, given their current turmoil. Using that term loosely, but I feel like that could be a fun kind of live save. I think scenario saves as well, like the one we did with Burnley, where it's kind of shorter term, only 6 to 10 episodes. They're kind of fun. I would like to do more of those next year. I mean, let me know what you think. But what would be your ideal save for me to do next year? And I'm not using this as a poll, because as I said, I've got some rough ideas bubbling in my head. But like, if you right now could choose a save to do for me, what would it be? I'd be curious to know. Anyway, questions. We've got CJK Master asked, am I going to do another live series? I am. Liverpool Live is definitely happening. You asked about the reports. How can I tell how much game time a player got? The minute is the number of minutes they played in the game reports. And who do I think will get relegated from the Premier League and why? So I said about the fact I made some predictions, right? I made those predictions weeks ago. I'm going to quickly try and find them on my PC because, as I said, I had Chelsea down in the league. And I feel like it's important to it's important to kind of I don't know, give my take based on what I said then rather than what I'm saying now. Right, so my league, this is bad because I have two teams in the relegation zone who I don't think will get relegated now. But my league table, I'll read you through it. Man City top, Liverpool second, Tottenham third, Arsenal fourth, Manchester United 5th, Everton 6th, West Ham 7th, Wolves 8th, Chelsea 9th. And then towards the end, my bottom 5 was Brighton bottom, Burnley 19th, Sheffield United 18th, Crystal Palace 17th, and Norwich 16th. I feel like Burnley and Brighton can move, and Norwich might do better than that based on what we've seen. Mistakes were made. I'm almost glad I didn't make a prediction video because I would have completely backpedaled on what we've seen now. Will Hughes has just scored to make it 1-1. But in terms of right now, who do I think will get relegated? I am worried for Villa. I am worried for Newcastle. And I am still a little bit worried for Sheffield United, despite their pretty good start to the season. Sheffield United's the one where I think the reason I doubt them so much is just because I'm not familiar with them. I can't watch enough of them to say, hey, they're going to be amazing. I could do with watching the games that they've played so far this season in full just to get a better feel for how they're playing. Besides them, besides Villa, Newcastle, Brighton I am still a little bit worried for, although Trossard looks very, very good. Crystal Palace, I'm worried about, depending if they can get Zaha, I guess, on side now after the summer saga, because I feel like he is a difference maker for them, and obviously he's not played that much so far because of all the drama over the summer. Anyway, it's 1-1 here in the World Cup with 20 minutes left. Asensio to Sergio Roberto. Is he going to hit it? Gives it to Dominguez. Oscar Dominguez. It's that regen. It's the bloody regen. He's ruined my life domestically, and now he's crushing my hopes for England winning a World Cup. I hate him. It was a good goal as well. That's probably what makes it worse. Wait, was it disallowed for VAR, or was the highlight playing out again? I think the highlight might be playing out again. I mean, we can enjoy it again, I guess. Is this the same highlight? I'm not even sure. Did VAR rule it out? I'm now very confused. Or is this it? This is it, isn't it? I mean, look, it was a very good goal, to be fair. Nicely worked. Nice goal. Anyway, let's get some more questions done. We've got Kostra, who asked, when did you start becoming known in the FM community, and what was it thanks to? I think when my channel really took off and I started to get a bit of a bigger profile in the Football Manager community was when I was streaming on Twitch. I was one of the first people really to stream on Twitch super regularly. That was during FM 14. So that was, I feel like that was the point where I started getting more known. Like, people were tuning into my streams throughout the summer when I was streaming like Oxford United. We also had the Wolverhampton Wanderers save at the launch of FM 14, which was really, really popular. So I think it was thanks to starting to stream, although I feel like my YouTube channel itself has, started well. It's good. Sorry, I'm answering the next question now without reading it out. But so now, he also asked, am I happy with how the channel's doing? Do I plan on playing any other games? I feel like it's always really risky to start a new save. Not a new save, play a different game on a channel. As you guys will know if you've been watching the content, I have been experimenting with Fantasy Premier League content. Some of it's gone really, really well. Some of it has just gone down like a stone. That's kind of the nature of the beast with experimenting with new content. I feel like it's always risky doing new content. I don't want to shy away from doing it. I would like to do a few more real life, football related videos, maybe reviews of certain football matches and the like. But at least right now I'm kind of sticking with FM. And yes, I am happy with how the channel's doing. I think it's really, really good. I'm most happy with the channel because I've been able to do content consistently for the whole year, which for me personally was always my big aim this year, to do videos consistently and have people watching them. I've definitely had some saves which went down really, really well this year, like this one and the Lyon project to begin with. I guess some of that's been counteracted by the likes of FC Edmonton, which just unfortunately didn't go down as well. But at the same time, as I've kind of talked about quite a lot, I'm not in a situation where it absolutely matters to me. The YouTube channel isn't my livelihood, so I can afford to experiment. I can afford for things to fail. And I can afford to just kind of do what I enjoy. And that's kind of what we've done for the most part here. Anyway, let's get a few more questions in because we're at the end of the World Cup now. So we've actually not got that much further to go. Joe Sayer has asked, what was my longest ever FM save? It would be the Gibraltar save. It's in FM 16. I still play it occasionally from time to time. In my own time, I have gone on to win a World Cup with Gibraltar. It took over 35 seasons, I want to say, but I did it. Mostly players who were born outside of Gibraltar who then moved into the country and took up citizenship because it used to be 3 years for citizenship before Brexit. Sneaky dab emojis asked who's my best Football Manager player ever. I'd probably say Matthew Lewis from the Lewis FC save. I did a video a number of years ago now on my top 10 regens ever. I feel like that list is still not 100% accurate, but there's definitely players up there who I would still have in my top 10 now. So if you are mildly curious about Matthew Lewis or any other players, I do recommend checking that one out. Blanky Man has asked, have you ever thought of doing a save with a youth rating database of 200 and trying to create a team from varying obscure nations? I haven't. I understand the appeal of it. So for people who don't know, the youth rating database, basically you set all the countries in the game to have the best youth kind of production number under the hood. Different countries have different numbers out of 200 based on how good they are at producing regens. You get databases where it sets them all to 200. I can see the appeal and the fun of it. I do enjoy the realism of Football Manager a lot of the time, and the fact it's somewhat grounded in reality. So for me personally, it breaks that. But the beauty of Football Manager is people can play however they want. I'm definitely open perhaps to doing the idea of a save like that. I often get people ask, Jack, will you ever do like a Youth Academy challenge? And to be honest, I really don't like Youth Academy challenges. I can't imagine anything more boring than not being able to sign players and hunt regens in save games, because for me personally, that's my favourite thing in Football Manager. Lyon Benson has asked, what would I consider my greatest achievement in FM history? Probably winning the World Cup with Gibraltar, or in terms of on YouTube, things that people saw, winning the Champions League back-to-back times. Just want to scroll through and make sure I get all the questions I hearted answered, because I hearted the ones I was interested in. Josh Pullen has asked, what's my favourite FM series? I've answered that already. It's Gibraltar Apex, I think, for me. He mentioned the fact that he thinks that's his favourite as well. And also asked, what is my most memorable FM transfer I've ever done? Matthew Lewis is definitely up there, as you mentioned in your comment. I think players like Paul Smith and Joe Bouchard in the Gibraltar save for me. FC United and Manchester, I'd say Jean-Christophe Peyrard would stick out to me, just because he was the first super crazy wonder kid I ever managed to sign in an FM save, and he was just absolutely godly. Ethan Samuel asked, who do Liverpool need to sign to win the Prem? Honestly, just squad depth. I would have liked someone like Werner. Havertz would be nice. Someone who is a very versatile attacking option who can, fill in for the likes of Mane and Salah. I also feel like we need a backup to Bobby Firmino in the attacking position. I feel like Havertz is probably a player ready-made to fill that kind of role in the team. I feel like Firmino really is Liverpool's system. When he was injured last season towards the tail end, we looked very, very lost without him. Benelli Zwain asked, how did I lose so much weight? Those of you who don't know, I've not actually lost any more weight in the last year, but I've kind of hit a point with my weight that I'm happy with. But, Benelli asked here, how have I lost so much weight? Ultimately, it just came down to watching what I ate and eating less of it. I got a Fitbit watch, I got an exercise bike, I started setting it up in front of my TV or in front of my computer while I was working and just doing general YouTube stuff. And I would just pedal away. I was, doing 5 or 6 hours of cycling on an exercise bike a week, and combine that with just regulating my diet quite strictly, mostly just calorie cutting and, getting, lots of fruits and vegetables into my diet. That's how I did it. Although I will say, when it comes to losing weight, everyone loses weight different ways. There isn't, one way that works for everyone. You've got to find a way that works for you, find a way that motivates you and that is sustainable, and then go with that. I tried all kinds of different ways of losing weight, and for me personally, it came down to, planning my lifestyle around things. I think a lot of people, when they want to lose weight, they do one of two things. They either start exercising a load, or they start eating really, really healthily. And a lot of people make the mistake of trying to do those two things at once. I really recommend doing one or the other. Start exercising lots, start, getting that into your routine. If you can find an hour 3 times a week to go for a jog, even if it's just going for a walk on your lunch break at work, just finding, making conscious decisions to get more active. And then from there, give it a month or two, get that into your routine, then drastically change your diet if it's something that you need to do because it's a problem. I feel like for me, I started with the healthier eating first. I started cutting down my calories, my body getting used to having less food because I was eating way too much unnecessary stuff. And then I started working out, and that's what worked for me. But absolutely, everyone is different. Everyone's body's different. What works for me might not work for you. One thing I would say is don't get demotivated if one certain approach doesn't work for ultimately everyone's body's different, everyone is different. Just find what works for you and stick with it. And if something isn't working for you, don't push yourself through with it. Try something else. There is so many different plans and ways to lose weight. For me though, target either your eating or your exercise and target it hard. Don't half-arse it, you've really got to go for it. But if I can do it, anyone can do it. Benelli also asked, why do I live alone? I live alone because I lived with people throughout my entire life up until the age of 21 where I left for university. And even then, actually, I lived with my uncle for a short while in London, and then I lived in a house that was shared. I now live in a flat on my own. I quite enjoy my own company. I'm the person who can sit on my own and just entertain myself. I can, as a kid, I didn't get bored on my own. I'm not an only child or anything, but I feel like I'd be a good only child. At the same time, if I want to talk to people, I have friends I can go out and meet with and talk with. But in terms of why I live alone, it's just kind of convenient for me. It's my current living style, and it makes videos great because I can just record videos whenever I want. I don't have to plan. I don't have to plan my life around it. It's nice. Other questions. Simon Mazzara asked, how do I set up my FM games / interface? My games really vary. I usually load up leagues that I think are going to be relevant to what I'm managing in. In terms of my interface, I use lots of custom mods. They're all linked down in the description of every single video I do. You can find them all there. Just scrolling through, I just need to see if there are any more questions that were hearted. I don't think there were. I tried to just pick out the ones that I felt we could answer and that I could give good answers for. So I apologise if I didn't get to your question. I think there were quite a few overlapping questions as well, so I hope that if I didn't answer your question specifically, maybe I indirectly answered it through doing someone else's. We are now at the NIM game, so it's kind of perfectly timed. It's going to be a slightly longer episode at just shy of an hour, but I had quite a lot of fun just sitting down, chilling and recording this and talking away. I hope my questions were somewhat interesting. I hope I answered questions that you found semi-engaging. If you got to the end of the video, let me know down in the comments what your favourite flavour of ice cream is. Just go down there. Is it strawberry, chocolate, vanilla? I'm curious to know who watched to the end. And I'm trying to think of a question I did halfway through. Also, actually, I was about to say who my favourite player is, but as soon as someone writes it, everyone else will just copy the comment, so it's completely irrelevant. I was basically trying to stop people, and there's going to be a few of you listening right now who have just fast-forwarded to the end and are now going to write their favourite flavour of ice cream. Go back and watch the rest of the video, you. Anyway, I'm talking to a minority here, but hopefully the majority of you got through this. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, do drop a like on it. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for 80,000 subscribers. You guys are absolute legends. I'll see you guys soon with the next episode of Lyon Live. Long winter break is overdue and well done. Our players look pretty fit for the most part. I'm excited for part 2 of this season. See you next time.